have joyvilla. How are you doing, Joy?
I'm doing so good. I can't believe I'm here. This is pretty extraordinary, you know?
Well, first and foremost, I wanted to kick off by saying congratulations for coming out and
Thank you.
for speaking out. That is one thing to leave Scientology. It's another thing to speak out about what you experienced. And so
Yes.
congratulations and huge respect for your courage in doing so.
Thank you. I feel like I'm gonna cry. This is the biggest thing. I feel like I'm so proud of this. You know, it's a big undertaking, and thank you, Alex, for being there. And Tony, you guys wrote me before people knew. And Alex is, and I've been chatting with him before became public. And I said, I want to be on your show. I want to give you the first interview. He's like, you don't have to do that. I said, no, but I want to because he was a friend to me. And Tony was sharp. As soon as I posted my baptism, he sent a message in, and he's like, it looks like you left Scientology. And I didn't say anything. I was like, I can't go public. I was scared, you know.
Yeah,
But no more
absolutely.
fear. No more fear. God is so
No more
good.
fear.
Brought me
Well,
out.
I'm really glad that Alex reached the two of you were talking, and I was very happy to hear that.
Yeah, it's great because he joined my live show, my joyvilla show, and he started cracking jokes, and so we were inside jokes, and we were talking about, I think I was talking about scripture, and because I came back to Christianity, and I was saying something about Paul to Saul. Saul was an apostle in the Bible who was killing Christians, and his name was Saul. And then an angel spoke to him, and God came upon him, and he became Christian. And I was like, I feel like Saul to Paul, like I was such a Scientologist for 15 years. And now I'm back away. And Alex was like, he sounded like he was an SP.
It was one of those things where, like, watching your stream, it was to any Scientologist or ex-Scientologist, it was so clear that you had left.
I
But
know.
you never
And I
mentioned
did that on purpose.
Scientology. Yeah, and you didn't kind of come out because I don't think you were quite ready yet. And I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure that you were aware that there is a community of people here to support you and help you. And that's why I reached out and just said, hey, look, maybe it might not be best for you to publicly denounce Scientology straight away because you're going to get fair gamed. And it's really important to focus on your mental health and your recovery and healing first, and then when you're ready on your own terms, come out and speak publicly. And that's exactly what you've done. You've got a book in the works. And when's the book coming out? I've put a link in the description for those who want to pre-order.
October. It's called From Scientology to Christ: The Escape They Never Wanted Me to Make, and it comes out in October. So it's pre-order now. And it's going to be audiobook, ebook, and written book. And I share all the nitty gritty details because that was an important way for me to also heal, to write it down, the things I saw wrong, the abuses that I saw, my personal testimony, my experiences within it. And I also detail a lot of the satanic origins of Scientology, which so many people don't know. Not even Christians know that it started. I'm sure Tony knows because he's been a journalist on Scientology for years. But I didn't know, obviously, as a Scientologist, I didn't know when I was like, because they keep it hidden from you. I was very naive. I was 23 years old when I joined, and I was very naive. And I thought, oh, well, yeah, he's a war hero. L. Ron Hubbard, what a genius, what an engineer. And you go, how did he decide? How did he find out all these things? But, he sounds so humble. And of course, there's a whole team of people who create that image, that PR, and they tell you what they're doing within it. Because I studied extensively the PR and the marketing, the big volume, right? The green volume about this thick. This is great because in this interview, I can speak Scientologies. And I always have to okay, it's speaking another language, isn't it? Like it's two languages. And Tony, you were never in, right? How did you start studying?
I'm just a reporter. I just fell into a great story. It'll be 30 years this November, 30 years since my first Scientology story. And I'm fascinated by things like Hubbard's background and like you're saying, and one of the first things you learn when you really study Scientology is that Scientologists don't know Scientology history. And they're amazed sometimes when you explain some things to them. But hey, it's been a little over 2 weeks since your big announcement. My first question was, how have these last couple of weeks been? I mean, it's been emotional for you, right? Are you okay after coming out against this scary organization?
It's been emotional. It's been scary. I didn't expect to cry, but It's been something, one of the things that has been healthy for me is not having my TRs in, right? Not trying to hide my emotions, because when I was a Scientologist, that was one of the things I had to do a lot. Um, it's been emotional because a lot of ways I miss Scientology. I miss the group. I miss a lot of the actions. I even miss some of the technology, the tech, because I felt like I was helping and working. I thought I was helping someone. And that was the thing that every Scientologist, almost everyone, I can't say all, it's a generality, but they think they're helping people. That's why they get hooked in, like Alex. That's why we get hooked in. We think we're helping people and we think we found something that can help people. So that doesn't go away when you leave Scientology, because that's who I am. And I just wanted to help people. So I wasn't going to come out with my story. I wasn't going to come out and I called the Aftermath Foundation. I talked to Alex. I talked to other people on the, I talked to Alex separately, and I talked to the people on the Aftermath Foundation. I talked to other people. I talked to my husband, and I got counseling with a Christian minister, and she was the one who said it's a cult. And that, when I first heard that word, my whole body got shot with electricity,
Hmm.
because that's something you're never allowed to look at. And it's so hard to explain the trap of Scientology to someone who's like, well, how could those idiots fall into that? It's so obvious. And I go, you gotta have compassion. These are broken people who are just trying to help people. And the trap, the mouse trap, has cheese in it. Don't forget, there's cheese in there, and the cheese is nourishing and healthy, and it feeds a hungry mouse. But then that cheese might feed that mouse, but then they get trapped and now they're stuck. And that's Scientology. They do offer some cheese, and the cheese was the communication, the community, the healing, the seemingly healing of telling the traumas from my past and my childhood. So all of that I've healed a lot from, but now rehashing this and telling people, it's like, oh my God, I got to go back into this, and I got to paint myself as a villain to show. But then also, I think the hard thing is trying not to make the story sound over dramatic, but then also going, why am I trying to do anything? This is my story. Because I do have a bit of fear of, like, how are people going to receive it? And then there's the flip side of the Scientologist attacking me, right? And I've gotten tons of amazing messages, but also my former Scientology friends who are like, I can't believe you're doing this. This is evil. I know you've been helped. How dare you? And I know also it hurts me. Yeah, it hurts for them to say that to me. But you know what hurts me worse is knowing they have to do that to stay in Scientology.
But aren't they being instructed to cut off all contact with you at this point?
Well, I think some of them are probably in lower conditions, and that's their hit back, right? And I know that because been there, done that. Never got out of these lowers. At one point, I was like, how come I can't go OT? They keep putting me in lower conditions, and that was when I was in the UK, and it was really bad for me. But yeah, they are instructed to cut off communication from me. But I think those of them who are like personally feeling a certain sort of way are going to attack me and then go, see, look what I did. I stood up for Scientology against joyvilla, the newest SP, and they're going to make themselves feel good. And that hurts me, not me personally. It hurts me because I know how broken they are. I know how trapped they are. And I'm like, oh my God, you're so trapped right now. You think you're doing the right thing, and you are just deeper into this cult that is taking your money, taking your family, taking your energy, taking your attention, and giving you nothing at the end of the day.
It's exploiting your vulnerabilities. That's exactly what they do, and it's designed to do that, even if Scientologists aren't aware that that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And you are definitely not alone in those feelings of
Yeah.
missing elements of your time in Scientology. When I left, yes, there'd been a lot of abuse and things that I'd suffered, but I missed the people. I missed the
I
good times
know.
hanging out with people I thought were friends, and
Yeah.
that's completely normal. And it's perhaps one of the most, there's lots of things that are heartbreaking about Scientology, but one of the most heartbreaking things is that it makes you think that what you're doing is helping people when actually what you're doing is harming people, and you lose everything you've ever known, everyone you've ever loved, the moment you speak out against it. And
Yeah.
it's horrible. But I think you really need to, it's important to focus on the fact that you are doing what's right for you, and you're following your own intuition in speaking out. No one's telling you what to say. No one's saying you need to do this,
Praise
you need to
God.
say this.
Yeah.
You are following
Finally.
your own, you're at cause now, to use a Scientology term.
Yeah.
Whereas in Scientology, they were dictating what you could and couldn't say and to who.
Yeah. And this is the thing. It's like, it's really intense because you're dictated on what you can and cannot say. You're educated, you're indoctrinated. But then the worst part, and I had to come to grips with this, is I started indoctrinating myself. I kept myself in that prison, right? So it's the
Mm.
most evil type of abuse when you train these good little soldiers. It's like a North Korea type of nightmare. You train these good little soldiers to do as I say, stand up on that chair, sit down in that chair, right? Yes, no, maybe so. Do this, this is how we respond. Repetitive, which is very witchcraft. It's very ceremonial. It's very ritualistic. You repeat things to the wall, and not even the military trains people to repeat things to a wall for hours, right? It's just, it's so bizarre. You train people to be in this cult-like state, make them pay for it, tell them it's good for them, it's therapy, and then install a mechanism in their mind with brainwashing that says, now you have to go and replicate this on your own. So I always had this machine in my head that was telling me, it's not, I'm not good enough. Keep going, keep going. Wait, control yourself. Okay, 1.2, 1.2. What is that tone scale, that person? And I'm so trained, and I paid for this training hundreds of thousands of dollars. $2 million in Scientology, I would say close to $2 million. And then I fundraised another 3 million from other people. It's crazy amounts of money. And you're installed, you're implanted with this idea that you're never good enough, and you have to keep fixing yourself and using the tech and learning more. And then you put that on other people. So you become a soldier ingrained with this ideology. And then you parrot it like a little parrot, and you don't even know that it's them controlling you. And they don't, that's what people are like, well, why don't they just leave? Well, they're not, it's not like they handcuffed me to the table, right? They didn't, you got locked in a room. I never got locked in a room. They closed the room and they looked at me and they turned the lights bright and they stared at me, and they knew what to say to make me feel guilty and bad. They knew what buttons to push to bring up from my childhood, my wounds, my desire to make them feel good and to be a good person, to be a good member of the group. They knew what to say to keep me there. That's that ritualistic, narcissistic, mental torture abuse. And then they knew what to say to keep me in that loop. And then I would repeat it and parrot it to other people. And they knew how to keep me to smile. I was so broken. I was so spent by the end of those 12-hour days. I would just come home and collapse. I was like at my lowest weight. I was broke. I was going broke. It was a nightmare by the end of it. Right. But there was good moments in the beginning. And then it gets a peak where you're like, oh, I'm on top of the world. And then it just starts getting really, really bad. And the thing about a cult like Scientology is you can't predict when that's going to happen. You don't know. It's just like a narcissistic relationship.
Right, and that was a question I was going to ask you. Is one of my readers happened to see you at that Dianetics table in Brighton and snapped a
Hmm.
picture of you.
The ugliest picture
And
ever of me, but all
you
right.
looked so miserable. You looked so unhappy, and of course, we were all
Yeah.
wondering. This is a woman who was visiting the White House, who was getting a lot of fame in the United States. What is she doing at a Dianetics table in Brighton?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and you just said something that I think is really important, is the kind of capriciousness of all of this. Did you even know what you had done that they considered so bad that you had to do all these amends projects?
Oh, Tony, I did not. So I knew after, now I know. But at the moment, no, that was the most painful thing. I was doing so much. I was doing the training on, I was a class 5 auditor, and I was training in my class 4 internship. That was 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. And then I was also doing the volunteer work, which was the stress testing. That was extra. And I was organizing, passing out pamphlets and doing those things on the weekends, right? When the org was closed. So I was constantly consumed. And I thought, this is what's going to get me OT. And what's going to get me OT operating thing is going to be freeing me from this, because I knew things were feeling so uncomfortable. I was in so much pain, so much spiritual uncomfortability and pain. I felt so trapped. But again, I didn't think that the thing they were feeding me was the poison that was making me uncomfortable. I thought, give me more poison because that's going to solve it, right? I'm just hungry. The belly aches are because I'm hungry. So it was this bizarre thing that I kept doing more, thinking it was going to get me out of the pain. And then every time I would try to move further up, it's like they would tell me, no, you're not allowed on the OT levels. They dangled that carrot. So awful. I literally paid for the OT levels and couldn't do them. I paid for them 3 times, and they drained my money to give me more indoctrination sessions, which were sec checks. So I was on a never-ending sec checks, FPRD. And I just go, what God, I started giving up over it. I don't even have. Like, I really was truly, I was just like saying anything. I was like, yeah, I kept the change when my husband gave me money to go shopping. I was like, I just gave up like BS because I didn't know what they were looking for. I'd already said the worst of the worst.
And just to help out some of the folks with the acronyms FPRD. So the false purpose rundown was a security check, which is a Scientology interrogation, because they're trying to find people who have secret, dangerous ideas about Scientology and David Miscavige, and they're trying to see if you've really been working with a reporter or if you're working with the FBI. And so they put you through these grueling interrogations. And you're saying that when you wanted to move up to the OT levels, which are the highest levels of the bridge, they kept pulling you back for these interrogations to see if you were up to something no good.
Yeah.
But was there anything, did you ever find out if there was something that you had done that they considered bad? I mean, believe me, I run into this a lot.
Yeah.
I remember I would ask Mike Rinder, well, what had you done that put you in the hole? He said, you never know. You never know what you did that they consider so bad.
That's part of the torture, because you're trying to figure it out, and they want you to be in that space mentally where you don't know, because that's part of it. Is if I knew, I could say I'm sorry and I could make it up and I could write whatever and read whatever.
Right.
And the indoctrination, it's so insidious. I would have rather they beat me, to be honest. I would have rather been smacked in the face than the mental torture, because at least I would have known this is where the pain's coming from. When it's spiritual mental torture, you just feel ugly and gross all over. And then you think, I'm so bad. I mean, I really wanted to die by the end of it. I really wanted to die. I was like, what do I do? I'm not good enough. That's what got me to start praying to God again. I was like, God, help me. And he did. But I wanted to die. I was like, I'm worthless. I'm useless. I'm no good, because I can't even do this perfect, beautiful religion that I'm a part of for 15 years. I can't even do it right. And at the end, I know why they did this, because I was a Christian, because I wouldn't deny Christ, because I wouldn't give up my Christianity, because I found that out after. I was like, wait, this is the one thing that they got me on. Because I even renounced everything to them. I was like, I renounce this, I won't do this, I won't do that. And I wasn't actively doing anything, right? I mean, they're part of it. I like that they have the ethics, but of course it's their version of ethics, right? It's not actually they say ethics are personal, but then they tell you what you're personally supposed to believe. So it's not personal. It's their morals. It's their idea. But I wasn't doing anything. It's like I was going out drinking or something. So I was racking my brain. But the one thing I was doing is I was continuing to pray, which they did tell me was other practicey. I was continuing to read my Bible, though not as much as I do. And they would ask me, who are you praying to? Why are you praying? Are you praying during auditing sessions or in the midst of auditing? And I remember I would be like, I'd give them a look, don't go there. Like, don't go there. Because I knew where they were leading. And I also had this idea that I study the tech, and I know L. Ron Hubbard wouldn't say that, right? I thought I had this superiority of, it's these guys, it's these staff members that are misconstruing L. Ron Hubbard's words, because I know the tech. And people would tell me that, well, yeah, you just quote L. Ron Hubbard to them, show them the reference, and you're in the right. So you think you can win, and that people would tell me you have to win that way. This is how you get. So much craziness goes within those hallways. Meanwhile, I'm having lunch with Tom Cruise's daughter, right? I'm hanging out. I was good friends with Kirstie Alley, right? Like, meanwhile, I'm a celebrity within Scientology and have done major things on the outside, the White House, all that stuff, music, all these things. But I also felt like, oh, maybe I'm it's too much about me. I'm supposed to be, because they also would tell me, when you tweet things or you talk about things, you have to be careful. And I'd say, well, why? I'm just, it's my opinion. Is it because you're representing Scientology? So that I knew there was something like I'm not representing Scientology well enough. That's why I dove so deep into it. And of course, the deeper I dove, the more they were like, oh, we got her. She wants to please us. She has this. We're going to give her more things. So, nope, still not good enough. Do more, do more. And I know that when I got in trouble for tweeting when I was in Nashville before I moved to the UK, to study full-time at St. Hill, which is the main huge castle out there. I tweeted out does anybody know a good Christian church? It was on X, right? It was Twitter at the time. It was a few years ago. And I got pulled into the Celebrity Center in Los Angeles at the time, where I was living for a while, a long time. And they said, you can't tweet this. What is this about? That was my ethics officer. And I said, what do you mean this is about? And I got hot. I'll never forget the feeling. I got hot.
Name them. Name them. Who's the ethics officer that said that to you?
That's Ellery. Ellery is the ethics officer. I'll name the staff. Absolutely. Tony, you know. Thank you. Yeah. That was Ellery, who was my ethics officer at the time. I forgot her last name, but she's still there. I think she was the lead MAA and Master at Arms, which is for ethics officer. And they are the ones who really are, they have so much power. They're at the top of the food chart in Scientology. And so she had it in for me, I remember, and she said, you can't do that. And I said, I was already in trouble at Flag, already for doing things. So I was like told I had to leave Flag and I had to stay at Celebrity Center and do a program. I was always on a program. I was always on some freaking program. I mean, at one point I went clear and it was like fast track. I went to Flag fast track to go do my OT levels. And then things started changing. And that was also when I came out in my Trump dress, which a lot of you guys got wrong, thinking that they put me up to. No, they didn't like that I did that. I didn't ask permission. Nobody liked Trump at that point, not even Scientology. In fact, I got into a lot of trouble. I got tons of KRs, knowledge reports written about me. I got called into ethics. I ended up doing superpower, cause resurgence, all 3 L's, super high level things that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, which protected me to some extent. I knew Grant Cardone. Nobody was into politics at that time, right? Not in Hollywood, not in Scientology, not anywhere. I started telling Ellery in Celebrity Center, Los Angeles, okay, this is what I'm doing. These are good people. I started trying to safe point them. I took Way to Happiness booklets with me in my Trump dress on to the White House and gave it to White House staff. I did that thinking, oh, we can safe point the White House. This is good. I feel awful about it now, knowing what I did. I was like, oh my God, I helped them move into the MAGA atmosphere. But most Scientologists were pro MAGA because it was like pro family, conservative. They were very, but then there was a huge portion that was not. So the Scientology as a whole told me to stop because they're like, we're not political. We're getting backlash. And they were trying to move more into the left side, right? They were courting Kamala Harris. She came and spoke. So they were just trying to play whatever side they could. Now they've moved very MAGA because obviously it makes them look good. There's certain MAGA people, but it's never been about the values or the actual votes or anything. It's always been about power and corruption and control. We know that. But at that time, I was in trouble all the time, right? I was just like, I was a troublemaker, like Leah. So I love her story. She was always questioning and she'd get in trouble. And they question, you get in trouble if you ask the wrong questions. But then they also worship you in some ways. So they keep you just in the right level where it's like hot and cold, hot and cold. You get addicted to the up and down, right? It's very like, oh, okay, I'm good. I'm a good girl. Oh no, now I'm a bad girl. Oh, now I'm a good girl. And so you're striving to be the good girl. I know I'm jumping around. I'm sorry, but I wanted to say.
Okay, let me ask you about. I mean, I was curious about whether Scientology, what kind of support you got for the MAGA dresses.
Yeah.
And whether you heard anything. Did you ever get to meet David Miscavige, by the way?
I never got to meet him. I never met David Miscavige. Funny enough.
Well, it's interesting because in the first Trump administration, you were probably the most visible Scientologist that was interacting with the White House. But this second administration is very different.
Very different.
Trish Duggan, Scientology's most wealthy donor, is
I know her personally.
Was largely financing the America First Policy Institute, which planned the Trump transition, and she has now been rewarded by being appointed to the Kennedy Center board by President Trump. John P. Cole, Greta Van Susteren's husband, they're both OT Scientologists. Yeah. Trump made him his deputy envoy to Ukraine. Grant Cardone, a wealthy Scientologist, got to speak at the Madison Square Garden rally just before the election. Pam Bondi, longtime friend to Scientology when she was AG of Florida, is now the Attorney General of the United States. I mean, from the outside, it really looks like this White House is very safe-pointed, and it's hard to imagine the Department of Justice under Pam Bondi doing anything about Scientology. What's your perspective on that?
It's a great question, Tony. I can tell you it's awful because this is This is something that I wouldn't have foreseen the first administration. Like you said, there was no. I was like, hey, let's get it. And they said, no, we don't know. So obviously somebody put the ducks in the row. And I know Grant Cardone. I'm assuming he hasn't told me personally. Like when I used to know him more, I've known Grant Cardone for over 10 years. Obviously now I can't because I'm an SP. But he is going to run for governor of California. I know that was his plans. I know that has been his plans for a while. In the MAGA, community, he hijacked it because there started becoming this safe pointing of it's just all religions, religious freedom. And that's how Scientology moved into it in the first administration. They started that, right? They have a lot of money. So Trish Duggan donated millions and millions and millions of dollars to get that position. She's a billionaire. I knew her. I have her phone number, been to her house many times, knew her kids, her husband. I helped fundraise and get millions of dollars from them for Scientology, singing for events, right? Getting to know them. So she bought her way into that position, and it's just like any mobsters. They're mobsters, right? It's like gangsters. They can buy their way into these positions. Now, I know Charlie Kirk is funded by a wealthy Scientologist. A lot of people didn't know that. I knew him from Flag. I have to get his name. I'll get his name to you, Tony, because I can't remember off the top of my head. But
Okay.
I knew that because he told me, and he's like, oh, I have Charlie Kirk's number. And so there was these MAGA Scientologists that I think started getting the other Scientologists on board with. And then they go, oh, wow, we can influence and have power. And remember, some Scientologists think they're doing a good thing, right? So they think, oh, we can do the right thing. We can be there. It's now Scientology is going to be forced to back that because there's so many influential people there. And Grant Cardone is really close. He's become a billionaire. He's moved in over the 20 years he's been assigned, 20, 30 years. He's moved in very close with the upper levels. I always thought, how come it's okay for them and it wasn't okay for me? So something switched where David Miscavige, it always comes from the top, must have seen a power grab and said, okay, well, if you can put in a good word and we can protect our IRS status, then it's a good thing, right? Government control. So what I know is that it's only going to get worse unless we do something about it, right? Something can be done about it. And now I'm having left Scientology very publicly. And I know this was the thing God wanted me to do because I wasn't going to speak out. I was just going to be chill, heal, see what happens. But there was this pressure on me. I recently came back from the White House and I talked to the administration. I told them I have left Scientology and come back to Jesus. That was at the faith office with the administration. And there was an audible gasp in the room. So it's multifaceted. There are these Scientologists who are there moving in the Maha, what's his name? Dr. Berg. He's OT8. I met him at the inauguration. He's big on Maha. And I talked to him and he was very nervous. I was still a Scientologist. I wasn't, but I said, oh, I'm on lines at Flag. I said to him to kind of let him know, the lingo. And he goes, oh, okay. And I chatted with him a bit, but I was surprised to see him there moving in with the Maha movement. It's just like anything. They want to be the popular, cool kids. They want to be the ones that are like in the control sphere. It's certain Scientologists who are doing this, but that doesn't mean all of the White House thinks Scientology is good, right? It's still individual. It's not like Trump's like, we love Scientology. No, he's he's a politician. He loves money. And I'm a Trump supporter, but I'm going to be honest, right? So, if a Mormon donates $500 million to the campaign, they can get a position. Unfortunately, this is how it is. So Scientologists figure that out. Don't be public about being Scientologists. Pick our people who are quiet about it because they can't be like outward, I'm class 5 auditor, OT. You notice Grant Cardone doesn't talk about Scientology anymore. He says he's a Christian. He kind of says, go to church. He pretends to be a Christian. So does, the other ones who are moving and shaking. And Trish Duggan, she's never mentioned Scientology, but we know she is. In Scientology, she's known. But that's only like 20,000 people, right? There's a whole world of people that she can pretend. I call it weaving and deceiving. They're very good at weaving and deceiving. And it's like, oh, yeah, I go to my church and I love God. And, oh, yeah, Pastor, Minister Tony Muhammad, right? And then we have Alfredi Johnson, a minister. I use those same tactics to show that we're multi-denominational and you can be a Christian and Scientologist. It's not faith-based. I believe those same lies. I said those same lies. I got hundreds of people into Scientology with those lies. So just because it seems nefarious, and it is nefarious, it doesn't mean the whole administration is fallen for it. I
Okay.
think there's a tipping point where we can actually tip it more to get the IRS tax exemption status taken away. And I want to fight for that.
Joy, I just wanted to pick up on something because I'm trying to leave all the comments and questions to the end,
Okay.
rather than kind of interjecting with our discussion, because I think it's great. But there is something that's quite pertinent. A lot of people are asking, Kamala Harris came to speak to Scientology, and then another person saying, could you please ask Joy to elaborate on that Kamala Harris post? Could you just explain what you meant by that?
Kamala Harris toured the LA org.
When was that?
This was years ago before she ran for vice president. This
Right.
was during the first administration. And it was.
Are you sure you're not thinking of Karen Bass?
I know Karen Bass did too. Am I wrong about this? Because this is what I was told too, and it was like a celebration thing. Hold on, let me Google this so I'm not wrong, because I might be.
It could also be one of those, like, because Scientology do this, is they'll tell you, like, Volvo, the car company. I think it was Volvo. We were told in Scientology that Volvo's a Scientology company, and it's an international car manufacturer, and it's run by Scientology, but it's actually a complete lie. It was somebody who worked in a Volvo sales dealership once, used some like admin tech, 20 years ago.
Right?
So it could have been something like that, perhaps, that you were told she went on a tour, but actually it
could
didn't
have
happen.
been.
I don't know.
Yeah, it could have been, because that I was told that Kamala Harris toured the Church of Scientology by Scientologists, and we were celebrating. I wasn't, but they were celebrating that. Maybe she didn't, but
Okay.
I mean, if it was a tour,
yeah, okay.
Karen Bass, yeah, I know she did too, but I could have been wrong about that.
Can I ask as well, just taking it back a little bit to your time in the UK, because you mentioned that was kind of the start of your way out, and it was a very low point, and I'm not asking you to divulge anything that you don't want to share publicly, but I wanted to know, because I was in a similar situation, being on the streets of London selling books, defending Scientology. People would come up to me all the time, be like, you believe in Xenu, you're a cult, you need help leaving. And I used to think, no, what are you on about? And try and make excuses in my head, because at the same time I was being abused by this organization. What was going through your head? Did you experience any of that when you were selling like Dianetics and Scientology, like the cognitive dissonance of experiencing it yourself but also denying it and defending it publicly? What went through your head during that time?
Totally. It was the same thing, like you said. I mean, my husband now, who I've known for 17 years, and I met him 17 years ago, and when I first got into Scientology 15 years ago, I gave him a tour. I was on staff, and I gave him a tour, and he goes, "Scientology is satanic. Its roots are in witchcraft, Aleister Crowley, Jack Parsons." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" "No, it's not." And he says I got mad. And of course I was like, I'm sure I did, I was, no, it's not. So that it's immediate. You're defensive. You're on defense. And you think you have a superiority complex in Scientology, right? Alex, we have this. I don't know if you did, because you're British. You guys don't.
100%. You think
I'm
you're bigger
American,
and better than
we always
everyone
do.
else. You believe you've got the answer,
Yes, we
not
have the
an answer,
answer.
the answer.
Those poor people who are not in Scientologies, who are not like us, those poor little people. And so that's how I thought. I was like, oh, they just don't understand. They don't get it. Their reactive mind. You puppet the same things you were told. And you, of course, I'm defensive of my friends and my people and my beliefs. And when I was younger, I was very defensive of things. Now I'm like, let me be more open-minded to things and looking at the other thing, because if I could be fooled for 15 years under deception, there's other things I don't know about. And now I'll be like, yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry. Let me find out. But then you can't be wrong. You can't be wrong at 23 years old, please.
Well, and along the same lines on that cognitive dissonance, you mentioned the 20,000 number, which is the number I use for the actual number of Scientologists in the world. And I wanted to ask you, as part of sort of not seeing reality for what it was, were you seeing empty orgs with your own eyes, and other Scientologists were as well? And how do they convince themselves that they're not in trouble?
Yes. Yes. So you're told that there's millions of Scientologists, like 20 million or something, 10 million, millions around the world. It's the world's fastest growing religion. You're indoctrinated. You're told this. And I've toured 39 countries and probably 20, let's say 20 orgs around the world. 20 countries with orgs, right? More than 20 orgs, like hundreds of orgs. But so and I was there before the ideal org boom. So many organizations were shoddy little in Australia, different places around the world. I've been to probably, let's say, 150 orgs I've been to, because I would
Mhm.
always tour, and I'd go to the opening of new orgs and all these things in let's say 25 countries. And they're either really run down, like Chicago org was really run down. I was there just a couple years ago. And there's not that many people. There's like a 20 people, 5 people staff, and your regulars that come in for course. And it's this hokey mom and pop thing. And they've been there for 20 something years. And you're like, this looks sad. They're trying to keep it alive. And then when David Miscavige did the ideal org push, he's like, now we have to fundraise for millions of dollars, gorgeous buildings and the best real estate. So now you go to those things and the opening is packed with thousands of people, and the mayor comes and they have videos and dun, 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 Scientology, dun, 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 and you're like, oh, you're all hyped and everything. And then what happens is they have to staff those buildings. They usually staff before they open. Then nobody comes. They hold other events, but like Orlando org, there's probably it's a huge, I think it's 3 stories.
Yeah.
And I would say in that course room, which is the course room is supposed to be the most packed, right? That's where you're supposed to have people going on course. Courses are like $100 for people who don't know. That's like, this is where people study, they self-study. That's where it should be packed. In that huge 3-story place, which takes up like half a city block, and it's magnificent, and there's a cafe, there was like maybe 4 people on staff. I was surprised, and I was like, "Where's it?" They're like, "Yeah, there are always problems. We gotta get more staff." 4 people on course. I mean, 4 people on
Wow.
course, and there's Sea Org staff, and there was probably now Sea Org staff, by the way, have to do that. That doesn't count. You got people that are now, they're trafficked in, they're forced in, they're $50 a month. That Sea Org members are the staff, because there's not enough people from the community who want to staff it. And there's not enough people who are coming on course that can pay the light bill. So this is the problem. They open up these buildings and then they don't have enough staff. And then they say that if we don't have enough staff, you can't have enough people coming in. There's no body routers. There's no booksellers. Most of the orgs. I mean, the orgs in Italy were very empty. St. Hill was packed but again, when I say packed, I heard personally from a Sea Org member that there's only 6,000 Sea Org members in the world. So if there's millions of Scientologists, how can only 6,000? And he said, our problem is we don't have enough staff. So there's not enough people joining. If this is the answer to the universe and this makes you feel so good, people would be dying to join staff here, because you get free
Yeah.
services when you're on staff. And why wouldn't you want these free services? It's like staffing a university. Those people get to go to these bougie colleges for free. There's usually well staffed at universities. But Scientology buildings, for the most part, are very empty for their size. You go from these tiny little mom and pop orgs with 10 staff at most, and 10 people who are in the community who come regularly, to a 3-story, huge glass, gorgeous building. And you maybe get 4 more staff members and 10 more people that might join. So it's like 20 people in a building that's supposed to hold 500. It's empty. They are
Yeah.
empty.
I'm surprised they let you see that, because as a celebrity, especially in Scientology, you get special treatment, right? They
Oh, yeah.
roll out the
Yeah.
red carpet for
They
you, and
do. They
there's
do.
the president's office, Celebrity Center, and so on. And I wanted to ask actually about your experience with that, but also coming over to the UK and how that maybe differed. Like, when did the cracks start to show, and were you aware that you were getting a different experience in Scientology as a celebrity that perhaps other people who aren't celebrities get around the world?
Yes. And you guys can ask me anything, by the way. It's anything, because I feel like I'm amongst friends that I don't have to pretend to be something I'm not. So this feels really good to do this. And I want to help people get out of Scientology and avoid Scientology and take away the PR that I've built for Scientology and destroy it, because it's destroying people's lives, right? So in the beginning, Scientology was amazing. they love bombed me. Celebrity Center, I was not a celebrity, but I was allowed to go to Celebrity Center because I heard chatter too. I read the forums and stuff, and people don't know I read things about me. It's a bad habit, but I do it, and I go because and I go, and plus I'm tough into a lot of stuff. Like I'm used to. I'm like, okay, what are the people saying? It's interesting to see, and a lot of people are like, oh, well, how did she get into Celebrity Center? She's not a celebrity. Well, they tailor to artists, as you know, Tony. They tailor to artists. It's not, they call it Celebrity Center because they want to draw wannabe celebrities into it. And you do have, the celebrities have a separate course room, a separate area where it's very bougie, and it's a president's office. It's all gold filigree, and you can free tea and coffee, and you can sit there with your laptop. You have your own parking space and your own sauna to do your, things, and everything is very bougie. And then the rest of it is bougie and beautiful, but they want artists. They want developing people. And even L. Ron Hubbard said that, people who could be celebrities. So they spotted me because I was in a modeling show. I was modeling at Celebrity Center, and I knew it. I knew I had a target on my back because I'm very effusive. I have a big personality. I'm very colorful. Subtlety is not my strength. I'm over the top. I love doing that. I'm an artist. I'm a ham. And I was very like theatrical, and they saw that. They pulled me in for a free personality test, and it was exactly what I needed to hear at that time. So I thought, these people understand me. My mom had just died. I'd come out of alcoholism, and I'd been trafficked by an acting agency, which is a different story. A few years before, I was in a mental institution for 2 weeks. I had breakdowns. I was drugs, alcohol, sex, drugs, rock and roll. It was the Hollywood lifestyle. So a stark contrast was this clean place with people who were like, oh, come, making eye contact, smiling. Come on in, come on in. I did all the free things I could do, the seminars, until I finally was able to rub 2 nickels together and make $50 at the time. And I was on food stamps at the time, by the way, people, I'll admit. So I was living at my dad's house, and I was broke as a joke. So it was a $50 course at the time, overcoming ups and downs in life. And then they're now $100. So it's cheap. And they say you can take weeks to do it. And then they're giving you all this gratification. Wow, you're so good. Wow, look at this. And of course I scored high on communication and stuff. And then there's acting classes. And then there's people, wow, we want to make you a star. But it's the encouragement. I think a lot of people see it so black and white, like they put you on a TV show. No, that's Hollywood, who and you do get to rub shoulders with major people in there, right? I got to meet Tom Cruise later in the UK, actually. I got to meet John Travolta at Flag. Once I became a Scientology celebrity, I was in the upper echelon. I got to go into the special course rooms. But before that, I was a normal person. But they saw something in me because they pushed me to succeed. And I was only in for a full year. Then I got married to a wealthy Scientologist as well. And about a year after that, I wore the Trump dress, right? Because I was always applying the things I was hustling. I was knocking down doors. I was going to auditions. Did they help me in the way that they encouraged me and said, talk to this person? Yes. But also it seemed like I was helping them. I wanted to help them. I brought Scientology people to the Grammys, but then they also had handlers on me. So at first it just feels like a normal church, a normal group. You're going to bring your friends. They're going to help you. You're going to bring people in. Then you start to see they're using you, right? They're using your influence. They lift you up so they can get something out of it. And I thought, that's okay. It's Hollywood. Okay, they're using me, but this is a good thing. It's helping people. I'm helping people. And then they're giving me awards for, 100 people in, I'm getting awarded, I'm getting flowers. They're like, Joy. But then they're like, can you give us another 10 grand? We need to fundraise for this, to get kids off of drugs, to put the literacy, the books in the libraries. And okay, sure. Can you talk to your husband? Sure. So it becomes very demanding. And then it becomes this uncomfortable where you can't even leave your door. I lived in the hotel and I didn't want to come down the elevator because they would start regging me for money and this and that. And then that's what the change happens when you become a celebrity. It's all about money. First, it was about money too, but they wanted your time because I didn't have money. Then they want your money. Then they want your influence. And then I thought, well, I'm going to lift them up and do great things. Then it became suppressive and oppressive. They were suppressing me, funny enough. After COVID and I came to the UK, that was after I refused to leave Christian churches. And I had a track record for kind of doing my own thing. And I think that was their way of punishing me to keep me in line because I wasn't quite tracking with the program. And then so they said, you have to train. So I trained and I audited and I freaking did so many things, went to class 5. First they said, just go to class 4, but I went to class 5 because I'm a show off. And then they were, oh, you know what? Now you need to do the internships. And I thought, but you said, okay, fine, I'll do it. Everyone said, just do what they tell you. Just do what they tell you. They know something you don't know. I think they were afraid of me becoming another Leah Remini because they would talk about her constantly. They said she was an alcoholic. And I remember when she came out, it was a huge blow to the church. It was a huge, huge blow. Like they were freaking out and they made us do campaigns, stop bigotry. They like had me record a video. I was like, it was so lame, but I did it. Like stop the bigots, you know, we stand against this. And then they started stand and I did a video. I sent you that video in LA org. I did a stand against hate and bigotry, right? They're always trying these campaigns to try to see what sticks. And they're always trying to be the good guy. And then in the UK, though, it changed because I started getting told, well, it was also because I divorced my ex-husband and they told me not to divorce him. I said, why can't I divorce him? Like SEERG members told me you cannot divorce him. I said, L. Ron Hubbard doesn't say you can't divorce. I said, all due respect, I'm clear, you're clear. I'm going to talk to you straight. L. Ron Hubbard does not say you can't divorce. I looked up all the references.
Oh, and Hubbard had no issue divorcing his 4 wives or 3 wives.
Yeah, exactly. He was a freaking dirtbag, like constantly getting divorced. But you know, no, he was a family man, even though you never see pictures of his family. You know, he was a good man. It was all good. You know, and then so I said, why? And they really didn't like me because they said they know if I'm the one who got more money out of my ex-husband to give to Scientology. And he in turn would be like, I can't fix you. Go do more courses. It was a very cold, hard relationship. I loved him. He was a lot older than me, successful. And when I became successful, it became uncomfortable for him because he also loved Scientology for the controlling aspects. This is what I felt, right? Like it kept me in line and I was a good girl. I stayed in line, even though I'm rebellious and wild. I am, my husband now calls me a golden retriever. So in Scientology, I was like, oh, I love you guys. Can I help you guys write letters? And I'll dump the trash for you. So I still volunteered and did all these things for them, even as a celebrity, because I thought they're so kind to me. They helped me when I was nobody. And
well, I mean, it sounds like you definitely were treated differently because you were a celebrity. But on the other hand, even though you were a celebrity, you had to go through the false purpose rundown. You had to do all the same training everybody else does, right?
Oh yeah, they don't hold that back. You know, you can't buy your way out of that, I don't think, because I do think some people were pushed up quicker, but at some point it changed. I don't know what it was, but
let me ask you another celebrity question.
Yeah.
I know you've been out for 2 years now, and so I don't know if you're aware of this, but last year, early part of 2024, Ron Moss died, Elizabeth Moss's dad. He had been kind of on the outs with Miscavige for about 20 years. And you know how it is in Scientology. If you're connected to somebody who is on the outs, then that could hold you back. Well, I thought it was really significant that Ron Moss died at the beginning of the year. And just 2 months later, in March, at last year's LRH birthday event, Elizabeth Moss was in the front row with John Travolta. I have a photo to prove it. And then again, this last March, just a couple of months ago, there she was in the front row again. I had never seen Elizabeth Moss at any event ever. Now, suddenly the last 2 LRH birthday events in Clearwater, there she is in the front row. What does that suggest to you about what Scientology is maybe thinking about Elizabeth Moss and her involvement?
Well, I met her at Celebrity Center a few times. I met her at the gala a few times. She's born into Scientology, right? And she's spoken about Scientology. She's been very quiet though. She's not a very like out. To be honest, I don't know, but I know that, you know, every celebrity in Scientology is expected to donate a lot of money and to get other people in and to represent Scientology. There's incredible pressure that you have to do fundraisers, events, and you are encouraged to talk about Scientology in interviews, right? OSA tells me, I had an OSA bodyguard on me at a lot of the media and interviews. And they want you to say the certain things and safe point it and talk about it. Probably Elizabeth Moss has been like not wanting to do that. And maybe they are putting pressure on her. Like, okay, They want to parade their celebrities because it makes them look really good, right? And they want to make you a celebrity so that you can represent it, because everything is PR. They're Coca-Cola on crack, right? It's PR, it's marketing, but they're not just selling a product, they're selling spiritual enlightenment. That's what's so evil. And they're getting people that want to help people. So I'm sure Elizabeth Moss, they're like, you'll help a lot more people. They probably tell her that all the time. And this is your duty as a Scientology celebrity to represent. And they probably are putting pressure on her to go out to events and talk about Scientology. That's all I would know, is they do that with a lot of people. Erica Christensen, she's done a lot. She's done a lot of interviews, the people who are born into it, it's almost impossible for them to leave because all their families in Scientology. And even if they don't care about it, I found that out a lot when I left. There's a lot of Scientologists, because they write to me now. They're like, I'm in it, but I'm not in it. So I left 2 years ago, but I was still in it. Nobody knew I left, right? So, but I even went to a small org, and I went to Orlando org. So I would say I haven't been in an organization since January. So I still was around and still was on all the chats and the groups, and everybody thought I was still a, high status Scientologist. There becomes a thing where your celebrity doesn't get you as far as you think. And I think I would say this for non-Scientologists to understand, you have to do things. You have to go OT. You have to follow the program. You can't just be a celebrity. Maybe back in the 70s and 80s, you could have done that. But the pressure that's on me, I'm sure the pressure on all the celebrities now, you have to go up the bridge, and you have to donate, and you have to do all these things. And if you don't, and you don't do it perfectly, you'll get in a lower condition. And then you have to get out of the lower condition. So I'd constantly be in lower conditions and out of lower conditions, and I'd be helping, because they want you to contribute to the massive industry of Scientology, because that makes them look good. And also that pressure keeps you in. If you get too relaxed, if you get too powerful, if you're like John Travolta and you're just like, I'm going to stop talking about Scientology, I'm just going to chill, I've already donated enough. They can't have that. Even John Travolta at his status has to be at Flag, getting his sec checks, getting his kids in, donating regularly, making appearances. So for sure, Elizabeth Moss has to pay her dues. They have to pay their dues, and they're under just as much pressure. Now, are you treated better? Yes, you're still in a trap, right? You're still in a trap. When I was in the UK, they just were pushing me so heavy that it became unbearable. And even though I was in nice places, they were very hard on me. And I don't think that celebrities don't get put hard on. At some point I wasn't in the beginning, but I think as you get more influential, they do get harder on you. I think it's a lie to think you're a celebrity, you're treated like a golden child. Yes, in the beginning, but once they got you, because they have to get you in. It's like a pimp. A pimp is telling his hoe, I'm going to love you. I'm going to marry you. You're beautiful. You're amazing. Yes, go make that money, but I'm going to share it with you. At a certain thing, they got you. So now they got to go, okay, bitch, go give me my money. And
it's the same with Leah Remini. She told her story about, rolling out the red carpet and so on. But the moment she asked about Shelley, they came down hard on her. Like
exactly.
the treatment that you get as a Scientologist is universal, regardless of your celebrity status.
That's right. It's not like you're just some PR propped up.
Well, and
because that's not enough control. They have to control you. They want to, they say it, control. It's all about control. You have to be controlled, help you control others. It's control. And they say it's good control. That's how they differentiate. There's bad control and good control. And the way they tell you is like, if you sit down and you have somebody and you say, sit down, would you like to sit down? You just controlled that person in a good way. And you go, yeah, that makes sense. Good control. Audience. Okay, they all sat down. They're quiet. But that's not control. Their version of control is manipulation control. That's just called, being able to talk to somebody. Like how if you guys ask me a question, you're not controlling me. We're having a diatribe, a dialogue. So they misconstrue everything as control. And you must be controlled. You must control others. Yet low on the tone scale is controlling bodies. So somebody actually looked at Scientology as a Scientologist and could look outside, but once you break away, you can't go back in. But if you look at Scientology and apply Scientology as by its own metrics, it doesn't even work. It doesn't even follow its own rules, right, Alex? There's so many things that go against itself. But if you ask questions, that's when you get indoctrinated. You pay for more security checks. You're now labeled something. I know in my folder, I must have had something where I was labeled like troublemaker, right? To quote Leah Remini, but labeled a problem, a PTS, potential trouble source. But I wasn't PTS because otherwise it would put me back in. You have to do a bunch
That's
of
the problem. You ask too many questions and you get shot down. That's what happened
it.
to me. It's what happened to you. It's
Well,
happened to a lot of people.
I'm very encouraged to hear though that you're hearing from Scientologists who are reaching out to you and saying that
Big
I'm on my
time.
way out as well.
Big
I
time,
mean,
Tony.
that's what's so encouraging about you speaking out. And you're right; it can take people a long time. I mean, Alex, it took 10 years, right, before you were ready to speak out.
Wow.
I think this is what's really potentially great about you speaking out is you have a potential to really lead a lot of people out of this organization.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, people would have never, you would have never thought I would be the girl that leaves Scientology ever. I was such a good Scientologist. I mean, that's why it's like, yeah, I was a celebrity, but I knew celebrities in Scientology and non-celebrities who just donated and barely did anything. That was, they used it as a club. I didn't do that. I applied myself and they saw that. So I was both lifted up during that, but then it was pulled against me because I did it 100%. I thought, because if I'm going to do something, I do something, right? I'm committed and I'm dedicated. And then I kept seeing it not working. And I mean, the nasty comments from certain Sea Org members because I could see, I was like, whoa, there's something wrong with this organization. And you think it's the individuals. You think, oh, it's just that org, that person. But then that always comes from the top. So do I think all Scientologists are evil? No, I think they're lost. They're broken. But are there evil Scientologists? Absolutely. And the top echelon, 100%, they know what they're doing. David Miscavige is evil. L. Ron Hubbard was a crackpot. Like this is a money grab, but it's more than that. It's a spiritual manipulation. It truly is to manipulate people at its core. That's why it's a cult. That's why it's not just like Nexium that didn't call themselves a religion. That was horrible. They were doing horrible things. That's evil. But they at least didn't say they were religion. They said, oh, we're going to give you life improvement courses. Well, guess what? Scientology says life improvement.
Yeah, but that's what made them vulnerable to being prosecuted and why they got taken down.
That's right. So that's why we have to get rid of the tax exempt status. You've been working for that for 30 years, Tony. You've been doing this for years, Alex. Like this is, I'm in this whole new world.
This is what I was going to ask, Joy, is like, I mentioned it earlier. It's one thing to leave and mentally, rid yourself of the organization and go like, I'm out, I'm not going to do this anymore. And I'm not a Scientologist. But then to make that change and come out and A, speak out publicly, but B, actually become an activist. And you've mentioned before your meetings at the White House, and you do have access to very high level government officials. And it sounds like you are willing and prepared to use that to try and bring Scientology into the mainframe of questions that need to be asked and bring them into accountability.
Yes.
Like what has firstly, what spurred that on? What made you decide you need to speak out? And secondly, what are your plans for speaking out? Where do you want to go with this or with all of this?
Absolutely. Great question. So one thing is I did write an op-ed the day I came out my testimony on my YouTube channel. I also released an op-ed because I wanted to control the narrative, but also more than that, I wanted to make sure the facts got out. I didn't want it to be manipulated to say, oh, because I know people don't trust me or Scientologists or whatever. That's fine. You don't trust people on the internet. Please don't. But I wanted to make sure people could see that this was authentic, and I wanted people to be shaken up to see how awful and evil it is. I didn't want to spare any punches. Oh, it's just, I believe in religious freedom. I'm no longer Scientologist. It's okay. I didn't want to do that because it's not, once my eyes were open, I was horrified. I mean, I was horrified at what I was involved in when I actually started Googling all the Tony's articles, reading those and watching Alex's videos and everybody else who's come before me who's left Scientology. It made an impact. Finally digesting that, Googling the Wikipedia, the leak of OT8. And so I encourage people to do their research and read that. Don't take our word for it. Go look that up. And if you're a Scientologist now, you can reach out to me. I will not tell people who you are because this is what's been happening with me right now. I have current Scientologists emailing me from hidden emails saying, you know me, I've met you, but I can't tell you who I am because my mom is still in Scientology and I can't disconnect from her. This is evil. And those people though are saying, but I want to leave. And there's people emailing me saying, I've already left. I'm going to a Christian church. I gave my life to Jesus, but I go to Scientology just to keep up appearances because I work for a Scientology company. My house is rented to me by a Scientologist. So you see, their control and manipulation makes people stay stuck. But if we start exposing these things and sharing these stories, like you said, Tony, my job is, I feel like on my heart, it's a ministry. What inspired me to speak up is God. I would have never spoken up. And I felt the overwhelming impression of God, the Holy Spirit telling me, tell your story, speak up, speak up. My God, I can release a book later. I don't want to do this. I was so scared. I mean, my palms were sweating, like knees weak, mom spaghetti. No, but I mean, I was really scared. I was really afraid of the backlash and the loss of friends. I still had really good friends. And I had somebody who was very close to me and who was a Scientologist. And then when I talked to that person, I can't say who, they revealed to me that they had left over a year ago. And they were keeping up appearances with me, thinking I was still, and we were both keeping up appearances with each other. So it's crazy. There's a lot of current. So even the $20,000 number, I mean, is probably not accurate. If there's 6,000 Scientologists on staff and Sea Org members around the world, and that's probably staff and Sea Org, and there's hundreds of orgs around the world. So the buildings don't show the actual numbers. And there's, when I used to go to the IS event, International Associated Scientologists event every year in the UK. That's why I went back to St. Hill, because it was like a homey place for me in this beautiful castle in East Grinstead. That's where I met Tom Cruise. And I know all his kids live out there, and all his daughter lives out there. And I studied with his daughter at St. Hill, and I was around his son at Flag.
And let me just be clear. When you say his daughter, you're talking about Isabella. You're not talking
Isabella.
about Surrey.
No, I'm not talking about Surrey. I don't know Surrey, but Isabella.
I remember Bella from London. She used to be public in London,
exactly. And she was very sweet. This is me in St. Hill. This is when we won certain awards. So see, I'm in my staff-like uniform because I'm studying, right? And there's my class 5 pin, and there's my $1 million necklace right there. That was from donating $1 million. That's my gold meritorious. Oh, I was like all about it. And you wear these status symbols and you feel very good about yourself. And I would walk around that castle, and it's beautiful grounds, but I was broken inside. But I thought, I'm doing the right thing. So people are also doing the same thing, and they've had that cognition that Scientology doesn't work for them. They're coming out of it, but they're afraid of where to go next. And that's what I want to help people go to, the SP Foundation, the Aftermath Foundation. I actually was on a phone call with a lady right before this interview. That's why I was late. She was crying to me, and she's like, I'm stuck. She is, I won't say where, but she's near a major Scientology organization. She's now on food stamps. She donated $1 million to Scientology. She's broke. She's crying. She's an older woman, and she was never allowed to go. She got to OT4, and she wasn't allowed to continue because she had to go back and do SRD again. They said it was 40,000. They made her illegally get all these credit cards, which they did with me too, with Chase, to get in debt. They took the money, and then they never delivered the service, because what they do is they say, but now the CS has found something. The case supervisor found something that you have to fix. So now we put you on a sec check or whatever, things that make more money, cost more money, and slow you down. And she's now come out and is a Christian, but she's broken. She's crying. So it was truly God. Like I was a Christian before, and I did serve 2 masters. I became indoctrinated into Scientology because I wanted the fame. I wanted the love bombing. I wanted all the attention, and I wanted a family. My family had passed away. I was lost and broken from Hollywood. These people seemed good and clean and helpful. They got me in. And then I said, this is my church. These are good people. I want something good. And her and I were crying because she says, I just wanted to help people. And that's what Scientology, they think they think they're helping people. So this is a cult that preys on people who are trying to help others, and they get stuck. And a lot of those people are coming out now because my inbox is flooded with emails. I've gotten text, calls, emails from people who are like, we left a long time ago, but we're not public about leaving. So whatever the numbers you think are, they're probably dropping even quicker, because look, the internet is killing Scientology. You can Google this. People have seen my video. People see your videos. People read these things. It now has, the PR is so bad that I don't think Scientology is going to be able to keep up. So what do I want to do? I want to take it to Trump and say, we need to dismantle Scientology. We need to take away their IRS tax exempt status. And I want to be able to prove that they're not donating and giving money and abilities and things to the people, which is why the tax exempt status exists for churches feeding the homeless, clothing the homeless, housing, whatever, doing things for, unwed mothers, right? This is why churches should have tax exempt status, because they're donating to the community so the government doesn't have to do it. But Scientology doesn't do that. They charge for everything. The free things that they do are just at the bottom of their sales funnel to get you to pay, right? There's no services that are purely humanitarian. And there's so many Scientology celebrities that get stuck in it and then pull other people in. That's why they have a celebrity center, because artists are the culture and taste makers. And so if you get one opinion leader, an influencer like Grant Cardone, you can get millions in. Tom Cruise, he's gotten so many people in because he's Tom Cruise. But people need to see, and by people, I mean the president of the United States, the administration, and I will tell them, this is not a religion. This is a cult. They traffic children. They abuse people. They traffic foreigners in. They abuse children. They hide crimes. They're doing criminal things. They're abusing their own members. They're doing illegal financial irregularities. I mean, come on, like scamming people to open up multiple credit cards and then taking that money, using people's social security numbers to do that, eliciting loans from other people. It's insane what they've been able to get away with. I know they've bought and paid for a lot of the police officers because I used to work with them on their community outreach. And that needs to be dismantled. And I do believe that we're going to bring them down, not because I hate Scientology. It's because I love people and I love broken people and I still want to help people. And if it wasn't for God saving me from this cult, if it wasn't for Jesus finding me again, I would not be here. So for me, I went from a cult, not to another cult, because Christianity is not, it can be cult-like, but Jesus told me I don't have to pay money or do things to find salvation. It's free. And that's what people need to know. Whatever your religious belief system, wherever your thing, it shouldn't cost you millions of dollars. It shouldn't cost you the loss of your family. This isn't a religion.
Well, listen, I think you've got your work cut out for you with people like Pam Bondi and Trish Duggan around the president. But if you are able to get through that gauntlet and get to him and get some progress, I beg you to please keep me up to date on it. Okay, Joy?
Absolutely, Tony. You got it. We're friends now.
Well, Joy, I think this has been fascinating. I know we are over
Yeah.
the time that we'd allocated, but there are so many questions and
right.
comments from viewers that I've been starring.
I
as
want
we've
to. I
been
want to answer
going
them.
through. Yeah,
Oh,
have you got some time for us to go through some of those? And
yes.
before I do, I just want to say thank you for your time and for everything that you've been doing. I think I don't want people to underestimate how significant it is that you've left, because you're not just a celebrity, but you're a celebrity that has connections with the White House, right? You know, Donald Trump, there's a tweet that I've got here on my screen where he was saying, good luck on your decision to enter the world of politics. He knows who you are. You were at the White House last week. And whether or not you're a Trump fan or not, you know, in the comments, it's irrelevant. This is a bipartisan issue.
Absolutely.
And what we have here is a celebrity with a decent following who's left Scientology, is prepared to speak out about it, and can get a meeting at senior government level in the USA.
That's right.
That is why this is so important.
Y'all
It's
better
not
use
about-
me and help me. Come on now. Like, let's put our differences aside. Like, whether you like me or not, this is not, like you said, politics, people debating, is she really somebody? Who gives a care? I'm somebody speaking out, and I was in for 15 years, and I'm backing up what you guys have been doing for years. And I'm telling you, what you've been doing is so incredible. Thank you to everyone who's spoken out against Scientology and who spoke to me in love, by the way. Spamming celebrities, Tom Cruise, whatever, I hate you, F you, get out of Scientology, you're a cult member. That doesn't get people out, right? The people who came up to the tables and are like, Zeno, ha, ha, ha. That just made us worse. The people who lovingly told me, hey, listen, you are in something dangerous. I want to talk to you. I may have not left at that time, but every single one of those helped me leave, because it made me go, wow, those people actually cared about me. They didn't want anything from me. And when you come from a world where everybody wants something from you, it's very hard to see the difference between people who just like you and love you for who you are. Now I see the difference, and I literally, I have no ulterior motive. I don't, you know what? I do want the attention, because that would be a lie to say I don't want attention. Every time I'm on a red carpet or I'm on a show, I want attention. I want attention now for people to hear me and say, Scientology is a cult. You need to get out. If all of the Christians were to seriously say, yeah, we're not going to support something that is demonic, that has its roots in witchcraft. That is not MAGA. That is not America. just the Christians would be so powerful, because that's my group. But you don't have to be Christian. You can be an atheist and support that, because wrong is wrong, and Scientology is doing wrong. So if we have to put our differences aside, I mean, I don't care about whatever was written negative about me. Like, I'm like, I get it. You guys were fighting the good fight, because I was like, man, they were hating on me. But I was like, I get it, because I was a part of something evil. And when you fight evil, everything gets lumped in. But let's embrace people and say, hey, listen, let's pray for those. Let's message them privately or comment. Hey, listen, we love what you're doing. We love your moves. We love your music. Elizabeth Moss, please get out of that dangerous cult, right? Instead of F you, biatch. Like, no one's going to leave Scientology like that. So I do want to say, you don't fight hatred with hatred. You fight hatred with truth and love. Truth is important too. It's not all, oh, it's okay to practice. No, you're involved in something demonic, get out, right? So I do want to say thank you to everybody who's ever prayed for me and told me. I remember I used to see a lot of comments, people saying, you're serving two masters. And I go, no, I'm not. One's faith-based and one's practical studies. And I was disillusioned and wrong. And I did a lot of harm by presenting Scientology as something good. So, I was doing a lot of harm, make no mistake. But my healing is to do something good and to expose it. My whole life isn't going to be about exposing Scientology, but if I can lend my voice in the circles I'm already in, I'm exposing human trafficking with my movie Breaking Shadows. I'm involved in a lot of different projects. And guess what? Every chance I can, I'm going to mention Jesus. I'm going to mention how bad Scientology is. Like, I don't mind being an activist because I'm very loud. You guys know that.
Kindness and compassion leads the way, for sure,
Exactly,
100%. And that's what I love about your approach to all of this in your live streams and from the conversations that you and I have had behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Is, we're putting everything to the side and just being like, hey, this is about helping people and getting the message out, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much for your super chat. I think this is on Tony or
Oh
your
my
channel, I'm not sure.
gosh.
But keep
Yes.
fighting. Some feel otherwise, but I don't care about your past. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow.
There's so many I've started. So let's do some quick fire. Let's just run through all of these. Gnome
Thank you
saying,
for having me here, Alex. This is
Uh,
awesome. And Tony,
thank you.
I really respect you guys for the work you've done. It's really awesome. Please support their work, everybody, on my Joy Tribe.
Patty Moyer here says Scientology is going to hate this, so it's going to be good. Randy here is asking, first question should be, how did the church coordinate with your political engagements?
They didn't.
When did you start finding out about the abuses?
They didn't coordinate with my political engagements. I think that's why they didn't like me. And I know that people don't want to hear that. They want to hear that they controlled me in that way, but they didn't. I'll be honest. That's why I was like, what? Wow, no, they didn't. They couldn't. So I was going to run for Congress, and this doesn't make Scientology look good, but this is the truth. I was going to run for Congress, and they stopped me. And they told me you can't. And I said, well, show me the references that say I can't, because it's all, they made me read a bunch of references and it all said Scientology. And I said, well, I'm a Scientologist. It's not political, but it doesn't say I can't be political. So I was going to run for Congress. And I think it's because OSA was bombarded with too many messages, because every time I would do something, I'd be on Fox News talking about Congress, and people were even like, are you going to run for president? It was like a big thing. It got out of hand, right? But it was a big thing. And of course, people knew I was a Scientologist, and you guys would expose Scientology. So I think the reason they didn't want me in Congress is because it would be too much heat. I hadn't safe pointed enough people. I was just too much of a fireball. They couldn't control me. So I
interviewed your former political manager, and he told me that was the thing, that he really felt you had a potential to get a lot of success on the political side, but that the Scientology was holding you back. He was telling me that the Scientology did not like you spending so much time on political things.
Exactly. That's right, Tony. You interviewed him, and I was so upset with him at the time for doing that, because I felt heartbroken, like, but and rest in peace, Robbie Olson. He tried his best, and he was a good guy in that way. And I'm glad that you interviewed him. I'm glad now. I'm happy for all these articles now. I'm like, good, get the truth out. But yeah, it was very different times. It was very like cowboy times. But now it's cool to be MAGA. It's cool to be Trump. And now it's popular. And of course, Scientology is going to sweep in when it's popular. But in the beginning, they were like, what are you doing? Don't upset the church. Don't upset people. We have to be maintained. Had it been Biden and Kamala, kid you not, everybody would be Biden and Kamala. So in Scientology, they play whatever they want. But yeah, and I didn't hear about the abuses until after I got out, but I saw some mistreatment. I detail it in my book, From Scientology to Christ, which is I detail, I saw the suffering, and I heard personal stories from Sea Org members who were my friends, because I loved the Sea Org, because I thought, you guys are laying down your life. Bible says, what greater thing to do to lay down this life for your fellows. So I thought it was very altruistic of Sea Org members, and I loved what they did. I admired what they did. But then I would hear the stories where they had to leave behind their churches, their family. And I was like, really? And I was naive, but I was like, what? They're like, yeah, it was pretty bad. And I had to, I like one Scientologist, I don't want to say her name because she's in the Sea Org, but she's a staff member in the Sea Org at Orlando, and she wasn't allowed to date. She's still not allowed to date because they have to approve who she can marry, who she can date. And she came from a Unitarian church or something, and then she almost had to disconnect from all her family to join the Sea Org. And she was embattled in a whole OSA thing, and they had to interview all her family. I mean, it's intense what these people go through. Not to mention their traffic from other countries. Alex from Spain, he was my PC, my pre-clear in session, and I almost cleared him. I think I know he's not clear because it doesn't exist now, the state. But at the time, we thought he was clear, but he had to get sent back home. And then they ended up moving him around from org to org, keeping his passport in order to give him a religious visa. And he was only 18 years old. And I remember the look in his eyes when they would tell him, you have to do this, do this. He had no home, no cell phone, no family. They don't let them have cell phones in the Sea Org, by the way. They could have pagers. Some of them still have pagers. They don't, I know now they still don't have cell phones unless you're in an upper echelon, very trusted, you might be able to. There was someone in the UK, she snuck a cell phone, and I would text her. She was the cook. And I'm just these little stories that break your heart, the little humanity. And then I realized, wow, these people were trafficked in, they're trapped from other countries, and they were making the best of what they could do. And, God forbid you disagree with your spouse in Scientology and then you want to leave or you want to have your baby, all hell breaks loose, as we saw in the Aftermath TV series. So I did see signs of abuse that I'm still remembering. Remember, I had the rose-colored glasses, so I'm still like, processing. She was getting abused. He was getting abused. But I didn't hear all of the really dramatic stories that I know are real until after. And I read everybody's stories. And now I'm like,
it
that's
takes
what that
time.
was.
It takes time for you
does.
to go on your own journey of healing as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing learning about other people's stories and going through that journey of discovering what Scientology is, but you also have to process your own trauma, what you went through. And there are still things today that I remember, and I suddenly look at them with a whole different perspective, and I go, hold on. Wait, that was abuse. Like, I never thought of it as abuse before. Now I've got that learning and the education around it. I see it in a whole different way. And then I have to kind of go through the process of healing and learning and, doing all of that with that particular incident.
Yes.
It's a process. It takes time. And I'm just so glad
Yes.
that at least you're on that journey and you're at the very start of it. So I just want to put that out there for people watching this. Joy is at the very start of that healing journey, and it does take time. Right.
Yeah, it does. It does. And someone's asking if I have a YouTube channel. I do. It's at
Yes.
the Joyvilla Show.
I will bring that up in a second. I want to get through some more of these.
Liz,
Liz
hi
Gale is here.
Liz.
Hey everyone,
Liz,
not sure I'm
Gail.
welcome here, but wanted to say hi, Alex, Tony, and
Beautiful
Joy.
Liz.
So glad to hear that Scientology is being depicted as satanic here. It's the truth from day one. Liz, you're always welcome.
Yes.
Everybody is open.
It is satanic. It is, and that's the thing that if people had come at me with more of the Satan angle, I think it would have been even better, because nobody likes Satanists. Okay, nobody wants to be involved in something satanic, and especially not as a believer. And it's truly awful. LRH had said that, and I put this a lot in my book. And I know, Tony, you've written about this too. I'd love to write an article and help you with some. I don't know. Maybe we could collaborate on something on that. But the Satan aspect. So L. Ron Hubbard studied Satanism he studied Aleister Crowley, who's the modern father of Satanism. He said he was a fine man, a good man, right? He said he was a respectable man. He admired him. And he also in OT8 materials says that he is Lucifer. Lucifer is the good guy, and he wants to prevent the second coming of Jesus. And he said Jesus was a lover of young boys. So saying Jesus was a pedophile. It doesn't get more satanic than that, right? It doesn't get more disrespectful than that. You cannot be a Christian and a Scientologist. They lie to you. They say you can't be a Muslim and a Scientologist because it doesn't honor your faith and your background. He also studied with Jack Parsons under, Jet Propulsion Lab. Satanic as it gets. Was it the Moon Child, right? It's insane that people don't know these roots, and Scientology has done everything they can to try to hide that. So I do think exposing its satanic roots is a way to also be like, whoa, wait a second. No one wants to be involved in that, and no one should be. And they are very ritualistic in their abuse.
Let me teach you a little. Let me teach you a little mnemonic.
Tell
Joy,
me.
that's always helped me.
Okay.
That Aleister Crowley is unholy.
Oh, Aleister Crowley.
It's Crowley. Aleister Crowley is unholy. That's the way to remember it. Okay.
Aleister Crowley is unholy. Thank you, Tony.
Rob Stead here says, I think I've joined the Joy Tribe. Jess Wilco says, Joy, welcome to the rest of your life. The outside world is amazing and freeing. Enjoy it.
Thank you. I couldn't do it without people that help support me too. It's definitely the loss of community was the scariest thing. And I know I will be attacked more, with websites and things and whatever. What can they say about me? I expose everything about
I
myself.
did want to say something about that, and that is that both Alex and I get it all the time. We're constantly being smeared online by Scientology. And the secret to that is just ignore it. And especially because what became clear to me in the videos you put out in the last few weeks is what a wonderful extended family you have, Joy. And that's the key. You've got people that really care about you all around you. So just ignore what Scientology says. They're going to say garbage. They're going to lie about you, just like they lie about Alex and me. And they're powerless to make us care about it.
Yep. You're right. You're right. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
SV Crusader Leany says, comment, huge hugs to you, Joy. We've got your back. We get it. Big hugs, and love to you. 100%. You have a community here of people here willing and ready to support you. Deanna Ross says, Joy is a beautiful, strong woman. Sam, the SP chef. Question, Joy, when at St. Hill, was your supervisor Susanna by any chance?
Yes.
If yes, how was she looking? I'm asking because she is my mother. Thank you.
Are you serious? Oh my God, this is going to make me cry. I called her my mama because she was so loving. Susanna is a beautiful, loving woman. I am so sorry that's your mom. She's doing really good. She was very upset. She was getting a lot of people on course, and she was, and she's actually was in a relationship with a guy who was I don't know if he's still there, but he was working. He's an older gentleman who was one of the cooks in the kitchen, and she was very happy. And she's a beautiful woman. She has curly hair. So I'd say, that's my mama. She's like, that's my daughter. And everyone would say, really? And so that would be our running joke because she's big curly hair French woman. Oh, please get a hold of me because I don't know if she knows I've left Scientology. I will text her and tell her a message from you because I have her phone number. They have access to a chat program. They don't have cell phones, but they can have a program. And so if I'm not already deleted from that system, I will send her a message from you and say, your son says hello. I'll send it now if you want.
I'll introduce you because Sam's a great guy.
And everyone can email me, joy@joyvilla.com. Your mom is doing good, SP Chef. Oh, your mom is beautiful. I love Susanna.
I'll hook you up. I'll introduce you guys after this for sure.
There's so many elderly people breaking their backs working in the Sea Org in the UK, especially. So many of them.
Love Food Kitchen here says, I actually said hello to Joy at the Dianetics table at Brighton Org. I couldn't get over how they'd send people to that dive org.
I know,
surely being that near to Ron's home, it should be booming with success.
Yeah, that was one that had like 2 people on course, Literally. I have pictures of all these orgs because I'd take photos with people. They take photos with me, and I'd always take photos. And I would be treated like, oh my gosh, joyvilla, wow, like a special speaker. And I'd be like, these orgs, Scotland, the org in Scotland, oh my gosh, in Edinburgh, so ghetto. They're using old e-meters, the ones from the 70s. I was like, this can't be, like, someone's got to tell COB about this. It was bad. It was super ghetto.
Yeah. Hans Christian Schwartz says Tony makes a really, really good point. Joy is someone that other Scientologists do know. I think that's evidenced by the fact that you've been getting all these emails, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I don't think it's not about me. I don't want to like, oh, I'm a Scientologist. People know me. Who cares? Right. But it's about the products and the creations I've done. They have got eyeballs on them. And I worked really hard in Scientology. Right. It was very personal for me. It wasn't something that I just wanted to be famous. In the beginning, it still was personal because I wasn't a celebrity. When I became a celebrity, I sorted mail and helped them do all kinds of things, assists and volunteering, word clearing people. You do all these like little things you think are helping people. And in some way, I think I did help some people. So if they could see how dedicated that even Joyvilla, who was a star in Scientology, has left, something's wrong, right? If I left there, it doesn't work because I gave it my all. And that's the truth. It doesn't work. It failed you. So I do hope that people are emailing me and I open my inbox for emails. I was like, I tell my pastor in Italian, I was like, what are we going to do with all these people who are hungry and are left Scientology? I want to start sorting them to places, SP Foundation, Aftermath Foundation, wherever they can go. Some of the people I pray with them personally or talk to them, or I say, are you safe? Do you need help getting out where you are? That's the first thing. Yeah. But joy@joyvilla.com. My inbox is open. I mean it, because this is a
SP
ministry.
Chef Sam says, oh, well, thank you. Yes, please tell her that I love her and she will always be welcome at my home.
Oh my gosh. I love that. Can I say his name?
His name's Sam. Yeah, he's public with his name. Yeah.
I'm going to send it to her right now because I don't know if my phone is, they move slower in the UK, so they probably didn't block me yet.
Amy M says, comment, I would love to see Joy protesting at an org. I'm sure you've got lots in store. You mentioned going to meet Trump at the White House, but we would love to have you out on the streets protesting, Joy. What do you think?
I would love to. I'd love to. If it'll draw attention to the right things and get people talking, let's make me have a dress that says take away Scientology's tax exempt status.
Love it. Jojo Bananas asks, Joy, have you met Emily Armstrong and what are your thoughts on her?
I knew her quite well. I don't know her now since she joined what's it called? Lincoln Park. I lost track of her last 5 years, but I knew her in Los Angeles with her Dead Sarah band. I've seen them in the shows. I hung out with her drummer. Oh God, what's his name? I'm trying to remember people's names, but her drummer, he was a good friend of mine too. Gosh, it's hard. It's weird because when you do go through this thing, you blank out some stuff too. And I also feel like I don't want to say their names. I don't want to embarrass them. But anyways, her drummer and Emily, they were friends of mine, and she's a Scientologist. People are debating if she's left. I don't know. You really don't know. If she hasn't talked about Scientology, okay, if somebody is very vocal about Scientology and then they stop talking about it, it's a sign that they might have secretly left. There are people who secretly left. They're like, yeah, I'm a Scientologist, but they're not doing anything. They're just showing up because they have to placate the group because their parents are. And she's second generation or third generation, I think.
Her mom's in the Sea Org.
Oh yeah, so she can't leave. She can't. You guys, a lot of these people, I'm so lucky. None of my family are in Scientology, and my good friends, a lot of them have left. There's still people I would consider friend that are still in. Unfortunately, I can just never talk to them until they leave. I would talk to them, but they can't talk to me. But if my family were in Scientology, I couldn't come out like this. There's no way. Nothing comes before family. I'd be like, sorry. So those people are under incredible suppression, including celebrities. Have compassion, have kindness for people, and speak to somebody how you would want to be spoken to if you were trapped in a mind-controlled thing, right? Just think like that. But the people that are out, all of us, we can say something about it. We can join. We can put pressure on the organization, and something can be done about it, as they love to say.
Using their term. Yeah, I love it. Jeff Levin here. Hi, Jeff. He says, Joy, are you doing music?
Yes, I am doing music. Currently, I'm working on 3 films, 2 post-production, 1 in pre-production. So 4 films actually. And so I haven't gotten down to recording new music, but I do plan on doing new music soon. And music will always be a part of my life. Yeah. But you can get my music that's out. I have songs that are out right now too. Watch my music videos.
There
Get
we
to
go.
know me. Before you hate me, get to know me. That's what I said. Then you can hate me after, but just at least see what I'm about.
And this is the link to your YouTube channel for anyone wanting to join the Joy Tribe
Yeah.
at the Joy Villa Show. And of course, Tony's blog, tonyortega.substack.com, the Underground Bunker.
Yes.
Last couple here before we wrap up. Tammy is asking, or just saying, so many more people are under the radar. It's such a painful place to be. It took me years to strategically leave, yet I still lost my daughter to this cult. And Trevor Non is saying, hey, Osa, if you want to get out, call the Aftermath Foundation. There's so many people here saying so many wonderful things.
I love
Congratulations on
this.
getting out free of Scientology.
Thank you.
Joy, you have so many people here willing and ready to support you in any way that we can. I'm so glad you're out. Thank you so much for giving us the time. Tony, is there anything you want to say before we wrap up?
No, I mean, I heard from
Nana. I just text Sam's mom. Sorry. She
Sorry.
got the message.
I mean, I did hear from some people that were questioning your motives and that kind of thing. And I just feel like, look, it's so hard to leave an organization like that. But to leave an organization and then speak out, and for the reasons you're saying, I think you're doing such a great thing. And I think you're going to help a lot of people. And that's what matters. And I'm so glad that you've allowed us to be a part of it. And like I said, I want to hear how things go for you with the White House. Yes. And anything else, and I hope we can keep working together, Joy.
Yes, I'd love that. Yeah, wow.
Thank you so much. Joy, anything you want to say before we wrap up? Final thoughts?
I'm so grateful. This is wonderful. This is how life can, you never know where life is going to lead you, and I, as painful as it was in Scientology and to look back on that, it's worth it to know if I can help people get out, because there are people who felt and are in and have way worse situations and abuse situations than I have had. And when I see those stories, I go, man, how can I not speak up too? But again, if it wasn't, it's got to be a mission and a crusade for those who do speak up, like Alex, like Tony, and others. It's hard, but to me, life is about facing the hard and doing something to help others. Like Tony said, if it helps other people, truly, this is helping other people, I'm in, and I love it. And I'm not going to be quiet. I'm going to keep doing my art and my creation and keep talking out about Scientology and sharing my testimony, because nobody can tell me I can't. This is what happened to me, and I'm going to tell it. And I encourage others to do the same. If you're in a narcissistic, abusive relationship or a suppressive situation, right, to use that term. But if you're in your own pain, speak out about it. And there will be a community there for you. It doesn't have to be as dramatic as Scientology, but anything. People need to speak out, and we need to fight against evil, right? All it takes is for good people to do nothing. And that's how bad people that's why Scientology is as big as it is. People just said, whatever, it's harmless. It's not harmless. It's dangerous. We have to speak up.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both so much for joining. Welcome to the dark side, as they say, Joy. And I'm really looking forward to more of these to come. And thank you so much for joining everybody in the chat. And we'll see you guys on the next one.
I'm honored.